Good morning, America. On the move. Millions of Americans traveling during this last big weekend of the summer season expected to set new records. What to keep in mind if you're flying or driving, how to save time and headaches.
Immigration crackdown. Official telling ABC News the Trump administration is aiming next for Chicago.
We have received credible reports that we have days, not weeks.
How the nation's third largest city plans to respond, and the other major American city that could be next.
GMA Health Alert. CVS announcing it will limit access to the COVID-19 shot in 16 states, requiring prescriptions in 13 others. What it means if you want the vaccine. A doctor weighing in on the new FDA restrictions.
Spirit's turbulence. The budget airline filing for bankruptcy protection for the second time in a year. The moves it's making to cut costs, what it could mean if you have a ticket to fly.
Caught on camera, panic at the park. A young boy spotted walking along the monorail at Hersheypark. Onlookers frightened of a possible fall. How he was eventually pulled to safety.
Sweet success.
So that was a comprehensive win for Coco Gauff.
Coco Gauff shakes off her struggles to advance to the round of 16 at the U.S. Open. Her next opponent and the matches to watch today. Plus, college kickoff week 1 starting with a major upset. Arch Manning tries to deliver. And a Tiger on top. Plus, the rivalry revisited. We're live where the action is set to kick off.
Live from ABC News headquarters in New York City, it's Sunday. Good morning, America.
You know what all that means? Summer's done.
No.
That's it.
No.
Done.
Not ready. But ready for
You're
football.
a bit of a downer this morning, Gio.
Good morning, America. It is good to see you. Of course, such a big sports weekend with college football and the U.S. Open. And, of course, the NFL is back. And you know what that means? ESPN's Herm Edwards is going to be here with a look ahead to the new season.
Yes.
We cannot wait for that. And also ahead, Congress coming back to work after the August break with the unfinished business of the Epstein files and a potential government shutdown on the horizon. More on that ahead as well.
But we do begin here with the Labor Day weekend travel rush in the air and on the roads this weekend. ABC's Perry Russum joins us with more. Perry, good morning.
Whit, good morning to you. This is a major weekend for travel with the FAA forecasting the busiest Labor Day in 15 years. United Airlines says this could be a record-setting Labor Day weekend for them. They're highlighting tomorrow as one of the busiest days to fly United, with more than 500,000 people expected to fly. Expedia says if you want to try and save some money, flying on Tuesday is the way to go. You also have less people to deal with, but that's only if you can actually take the day off from work. Very busy day on the road, so let's look at the best and worst times to drive today. When you leave has a major effect on how much traffic you actually deal with. So experts say the best time to go is this. Best time is before 11 this morning, so a few hours to go on that, with the worst time between noon and 5 today. So keep an eye on that. As for tomorrow, this is what we are looking at here. The best time is before 1 and then after 4, which means the worst is between 1 and 4. Again, remember, when you leave has a major effect. So if you work around these times, you should be in good shape. So as for the gas prices, there is some good news, with AAA saying that the national average for a gallon of gas right now is $3.18. That's better than a year ago, or it was $3.33. That's a difference of 15 cents. So some very good news, Gio.
All right, so get on the road early or late at night. Perry, thank you, and good to have you here in New York. So how's it looking for the rest of the Labor Day weekend? Brittany Bell from our station here in New York, WABC, joins us this morning. Hey, Brittany.
Hey, Gio, I'm blaming you because it's a little chilly in New York since you just said summer is over. We have temperatures in the 40s and the 50s, but at least we have this fantastic sunrise, nice and clear sky. So it's been quiet so far this weekend across the Northeast, but that has not been the case for the Southeast and the Central Plains, all due to scattered showers. Some of that has been heavy, especially across Texas. More the same today. Houston up to 86, a pretty wet day on tap, but at least dry across the eastern half of the country. At the beaches, the rip current risk much lower compared to last week, was as Aaron was moving offshore, so a low to moderate risk. But check out Jacksonville, a high risk, so make sure to stay out of the surf zone. Temperatures close to water temperatures and air temperatures as well. Back to you guys.
All right, certainly starting to feel like fall, as Gio would say. Now to the Trump administration widening its immigration crackdown in major cities, targeting Chicago, signaling its campaign of mass deportations is heading to the Windy City. Senior White House correspondent Selena Wang is in Washington with more. Hey, Selena, good morning.
Hey, Mary, good morning. That's right. Officials tell us that the Trump administration is preparing an immigration crackdown in Chicago, but the city's mayor is firing back, making it clear Chicago won't play along. This morning, President Trump escalating his immigration crackdown. Law enforcement officials telling ABC News the administration plans to surge immigration enforcement operations in Chicago as early as this week.
We have received credible reports that we have days, not weeks.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson fighting back, signing an executive order to resist.
We will not have our police officers, who are working hard every single day to drive down crime, deputized to do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president.
The order says Chicago police will not collaborate with federal agents on civil immigration enforcement and urges federal law enforcement to remain uniformed and unmasked. The president has repeatedly pointed to Chicago as his next target.
Chicago, everybody knows how bad it is.
It comes as Trump looks to expand his nationwide crime crackdown after declaring a crime emergency earlier this month and deploying over 2,000 National Guard troops in D.C. Boston now also preparing for a potential surge in immigration enforcement.
Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law. We are the safest major city in the country because all of our community members know that they are part of how we keep the entire community safe.
And this comes as Trump's immigration agenda faces a new setback. A federal judge has blocked the administration from quickly removing migrants who can't prove they've lived here for more than 2 years. The judge calling it a violation of due process. Whit?
All right, Selena Wang, we appreciate it. Let's bring in ABC's chief foreign affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz, who will be hosting This Week later on this morning. Martha, it's always great to have you. So as we just noted there, President Trump now wants to send National Guard troops to other major cities as part of that crackdown on crime. How far could this go?
Well, President Trump is now threatening to go after crime in Chicago, not just immigration. He said, unless you straighten it out, we're coming. Now, does he have the legal authority to do it? This is going to be in the courts for a long time, no doubt, if he does that. He can under certain circumstances. And as Selena pointed out, he declared an emergency here in Washington, D.C. But it's very different in the states. He's not really the commander-in-chief of the National Guard in those states. And that's, I think, why you'll see it in the courts. And a lot of these governors are pushing back already, condemning President Trump's thoughts about sending the Guard. But we all remember he did that in L.A.
Yeah, and many of the mayors and governors are taking those steps to push back. I do want to turn to the turmoil at the CDC. President Trump fired the director. Several top officials have now resigned. What impact could this all have on public health?
I think that's the big question, Whit. I mean, you've got all these top officials resigning, replacing the CDC director. What does that really mean for all of us? What does this mean for your health? You know, President Trump had that very successful Operation Warp Speed during the COVID-19, getting that vaccine out there. Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. believes differently than Donald Trump. So we'll have to see what this means and what they leave behind at the CDC. Whit.
All right, Martha Raddatz, thank you so much. And remember to tune into This Week later on this morning to see Martha's full interview with Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Plus, the former CDC vaccine chief discusses why he resigned this week amid that controversial shakeup at the nation's leading public health agency. Gio?
All right, Whit, now to Congress getting back together here this week with major work ahead in September in the unfinished business of the Epstein files. House Speaker Mike Johnson telling ABC News he would consider holding a vote on releasing the files if necessary. And in the Senate, a government funding bill facing an October 1st deadline to avoid another government shutdown. A lot to watch there, Mary.
Okay, Gio, and overseas now to the latest large-scale Russian attacks in Ukraine, even as those peace efforts continue. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us with the latest. Marcus, good morning.
Mary, good morning. Another sleepless night for so many in Ukraine as Russia carried out a new wave of drone attacks. In the last 48 hours, 15 people have been killed and more than 100 injured. Ukraine's Air Force saying it intercepted 126 drones, but the dozens made it through their air defenses. The Odessa district was among the hardest hit, where casualties were reported, as well as damage to the energy infrastructure. And thousands this morning are without power. Now, this comes as Ukrainian officials met with U.S. leaders this weekend, urging the U.S. to put more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiating table. So far, talks have not yielded any results. particularly following that summit between Vladimir Putin and President Trump, and then the meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders at the White House. There had been hope for some kind of breakthrough, but this morning, any direct meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin, if it were to happen, seems far off as this war rages on.
Okay, Marcus Moore, thank you for that. Now in the Middle East, Yemen's Houthi rebels say their prime minister was killed in an Israeli airstrike on the capital. This would be the most senior Houthi leader killed in the campaign by Israel and the U.S. against the Houthis. Gio?
Okay, Whit, now to the latest on COVID vaccines. CVS announcing it will limit access to the shot in 16 states, requiring prescriptions in 13 states, including New York, Florida, and Colorado, and simply not offering it in 3 others. Walgreens says it will give vaccines in states where we are able to do so. Joining us now to talk about all of this is neurologist Dr. Leah Kroll. Dr. Kroll, thank you for joining us. It is good to see you. So from your perspective, who should get the COVID shot?
Gio, this should be a simple answer, and unfortunately, public health guidance has been confusing, to say the least. So let's start with what the science tells us, which is that COVID is still spreading. Yes, some people are higher risk. I'm talking about people over 65, immunocompromised, pregnant, certain medical conditions, but anyone can become seriously ill from COVID. And that's why previously it's been recommended that everyone 6 months and older get vaccinated to prevent that serious disease. Now, as of a few days ago, the FDA has changed their tune. They're now saying the vaccine will only be labeled for people who are over 65 or who have certain high-risk conditions. And this is confusing because it conflicts with a lot of the medical guidance that comes from organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics. So where does this leave us all? Well, the bottom line is that COVID is still here and the vaccine still works. So if you are over 65 and you do fall into that high-risk group, certainly go ahead and get the shot. If you're under 65 and healthy, it's a little more complicated. You may need to speak to your doctor about the best path forward for you, but really try and remember the science here has not changed. The vaccine prevents serious complications from COVID, period.
And you talked about the confusion we just saw here. CVS and Walgreens, they have different policies right now. So what does that mean for people?
This is an evolving landscape, okay? As you said, 3 states not offering the vaccines at all, 13 states plus DC, where regardless of whether you meet the FDA requirements, you still need a prescription for a vaccine. Some people under 65 and healthy will need a doctor's prescription for an off-label vaccine. So it's a mess. There's another wrinkle to add in here, which is that insurance coverage is still up in the air. Okay, we're not going to know more about that until the CDC's vaccine advisory panel meets. That's not slated to happen until later in September. So it's a lot of information that we're expecting to come in. We're going to have to do our best to stay on top of it and really manage these barriers to vaccines access as best we can.
All right, Dr. Leah Kroll, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mary?
Thanks, Gio. And now to another bankruptcy filing by Spirit Airlines. It's second in a year, the move coming during this major holiday travel weekend. ABC's Alex Persay joins us with what this could mean for passengers. And Alex, the airline having a tough time.
Yeah, Mary, I mean, it's been a tough year for Spirit Airlines, the country's largest budget airline, now filing for Chapter 11 for the second time in less than 12 months. In a statement, the airline saying in part that since emerging from our previous restructuring, it has become clear that there is much more work to be done. Spirit first came out of Chapter 11 in March, but since then it has failed to significantly cut costs and struggled with a weaker demand for domestic travel. And now the Florida-based airline says it will reduce its network and cut its fleet to shrink costs by hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And all of this is happening during one of the busiest travel holidays, but Spirit insists that there will be no impacts for its passengers this Labor Day weekend, saying that flights will continue to operate normally. It also says, Whit, that customers can still use their tickets, credits, and loyalty points. Whit?
All right, important for those customers to know. Alex Persay, thanks so much. Now to college football, week 1 wrapping up. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Miami with all the big results ahead of tonight's matchup there between Notre Dame and Miami. Gee, Victor, who are you rooting for?
This alum might be a little biased. Good morning, Whit, from Hard Rock Stadium. We are just hours away now from and Notre Dame. But first, it was a monster college football Saturday, packed with action and some stunning upsets.
Listen to this place roar!
And with that, the 2025 college football season is back. Week 1 kicking off with perennial powerhouse Alabama visiting Florida State.
Getting help from his friends, finding his way to the goal line and in!
The Seminoles shocking number 8 ranked Crimson Tide, handing them their first season-opening loss since 2001.
Here's Castellanos to the outside, inside the 5, diving into that end zone with a stride.
FSU's punishing attack led by new transfer quarterback Tommy Castellanos with 78 yards on the ground alone and a touchdown in front of a revved-up home crowd. The Seminoles ending the game with a stunning 31-17 upset, a major win for a team who only won 2 games last season.
Here we go.
Up in Ohio, all eyes on Texas quarterback Arch Manning, leading the top-ranked Texas Longhorns against the defending national champions, Ohio State Buckeyes.
Touchdown, Bucks!
But it was the Buckeyes picking up right where they left off, stifling Manning, Ohio State's defense, the real MVP of the game.
In the end zone. Incomplete.
Buckeyes beating the Longhorns 14-7.
Dives into the end zone for a touchdown.
And in South Carolina, it was the Tigers versus the Tigers. Number 9 LSU taking on number 4 Clemson.
This is a chip shot from 42, and he just bangs it through.
Clemson getting on the scoreboard first with a field goal in the first quarter. But in the end, the LSU Tigers could not be stopped.
Jump ball, easy pitch and catch.
Defeating Clemson 17-10, adding to the upset tally of the night.
Now let's talk about UM and Notre Dame. These teams have a long history going back to the 1980s, but they haven't played each other since 2017. So we have a rivalry renewed for you right here on ABC. Gio, this looks like a pretty good spot to watch the game. I might just stay here until kickoff. You think they'll be all right with that?
I think so. Why not, Victor?
Security's
Absolutely.
already on the way.
Yeah, that's both Miami boys right there, so I guess we know who we are rooting for, right? Okay, now about that $1 billion Powerball drawing overnight. We got some good news. You got another chance to try to become the next billionaire in the world. No one matching all 6 numbers, meaning that giant jackpot climbs to over $1 billion for the next drawing tomorrow on Labor Day. Maybe the end of laboring, right?
It just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The U.S. Open, a big match ahead tomorrow between Coco Gauff and Naomi Osaka. ABC's Olivia Rubin has more. Good morning, Olivia. And this is going to be quite the match.
It is a big match indeed, and it is now down to the final 16 after some of the biggest names faced off on Saturday for the 3rd round. Of course, as you said, fan favorite Coco Gauff, the top-ranked American woman in the competition, bringing home a win against Polish player Magdalena Frech. She'll now go up against Naomi Osaka on Monday. That will certainly be the one to watch. And of course, the legend Venus Williams may have been knocked out of the singles competition early in the 1st round, but she dominated once again in doubles with her partner Leylah Fernandez, who had Williams do her signature twirl wave after their win. You see it there. And at 45 years old, Williams marked her 25th U.S. Open appearance in the singles competition. And as this competition churns on, today is bringing more closely watched matches. In just a few hours, Americans Taylor Townsend and Jessica Pegula will vie for their spots in the quarterfinals. But there was also heartbreak for some. Tommy Paul going down in 5 sets in a late night match last night. That leaves just one American man left in the competition. Taylor Fritz, he takes the court this afternoon as he tries to do what so many fans are craving, guys, break the dry streak and become the first American man to win in how many years? 22.
So much riding on Taylor today.
I know, and he's the last one left that can do it.
Yep. But love watching
Fingers
Venus,
crossed.
though.
Yep.
It's incredible. Fun to watch. Coming up here on Good Morning America, our NFL countdown, the teams and the players to watch. ESPN's Herm Edwards is back with us for the new season.
And wait till you see this video here. Frightening moments at Hersheypark when a young boy is spotted walking along a monorail. How he was eventually saved, it was caught on camera.
And fast food memories as one chain goes retro with its menu. We have that coming up.
When gasps turn to whispers, and whispers into shouts, even the youngest trick-or-treaters know what horror lurks about. A Fright Night.
Ooh, spooky. Welcome back to GMA. A familiar face is getting some competition right now. Skelly is Home Depot's giant ghoul for Halloween season. Well, the 12-foot skeleton, always a hot seller, and now comes a rival. Lowe's introducing a 20-foot inflatable skeleton. Can we call him a ghoul? Standing 2 stories tall, selling for $269. That's $30 cheaper than Scully. Both versions are sure to scare up sales. I just read that from the teleprompter. It was just really funny. Coming up here, the big question about fall decorating in our group chat.
I do love how like everyone tries to outdo everybody with the decoration.
And then we're going to get a 22-foot skeleton, a 25-foot. All good stuff. We'll have more on that ahead. First, let's take a look at some of the big stories that we're following on this Sunday morning. Gaza Civil Defense says at least 7 people died overnight in an Israeli strike on western Gaza City. Video from the scene shows injured children being carried away from a blown-out building. Meanwhile, Israeli forces say the second hostage whose body was recovered on Friday was Edan Shtivi. They say that he was killed in the Hamas attack on October 7th back in 2023, and his body was taken to Gaza.
And the man suspected in a mass shooting in Montana is now facing 4 murder charges. That's according to court records. Michael Paul Brown lived next door to the bar where 4 people were killed on August 1st. He was arrested after a massive week-long search in the wilderness.
And an iconic piece of Star Wars history is for sale. One of the prop lightsabers used in Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi is being auctioned this week in Los Angeles. The prop store saying that this piece of movie history is likely to go for anywhere from $1 to $3 million.
What?
Wow.
For a lightsaber?
Right. And so if you get the lottery, if you win the lottery, then
what
you
we're
can
going to do
get
with our billion.
That's
there
right.
we go.
Wise investment.
Another wise investment, this right here. Herm Edwards, we're going to start this half hour here with the excitement building for this week's start of the NFL season. Lots of storylines to watch. Joining us right now, the man, the myth, the legend, ESPN analyst and former player and head coach, Herm Edwards, our buddy. Welcome back. It's been too long.
Let's not forget last season.
It has been too long. It's good to be back with the crew again.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you can see Whit, but he's holding up your Who's with Herm trophy.
That's right. I won last season. The Pick'em match.
That's next week. I heard that's next week.
Yeah. You got it.
All right, Herm. So your former team, the Philadelphia Eagles, kicking off the season Thursday night with a big matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. So can the Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champs? I know you're probably going to say yeah.
Very difficult, as we know. Hadn't been done in quite some time. But I think the Eagles do have the formula. It'll be interesting. They lost a lot of players due to the fact of free agency and guys going to other teams. But they are very, very good offensively. I don't think Saquon Barkley will rush for 2,000 yards this year. Defensively, they got a young secondary. They lost some players back there. But at the end of the day, I think that they will have a chance. I think it's difficult because I do think the Washington Commanders are really good. And all they're going to do is get better.
And we know we got a fan here. Okay, so other than the Eagles here, which Week 1 matchup are you most excited about watching?
I like the Lions versus the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to stay in the NFC North because remember, the Lions were they were America's team last year, and all of a sudden they get into the playoffs at home and they lose to who? The Washington Commanders at home. They've lost 2 coordinators. They lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. So how will this team react now? Losing 2 coordinators, getting basically blown out at home in a playoff game. I want to see how these guys are going to react to how they play the Green Bay Packers.
All right, now let's talk about quarterbacks because there's a lot of questions surrounding the position this preseason. So who needs to prove themselves early on?
Well, let's stay in that division. How about Caleb Williams? He has Ben Johnson all of a sudden. Ben Johnson comes from Detroit Lions. He was obviously the offensive coordinator. He coached Jared Goff. And if you watch Caleb Williams right now, with Chicago in the preseason, he looked like a different quarterback. Caleb Williams has the same amount of talent that Jaden Daniels has. But I think now there's a system in place for Caleb Williams to really progress and to watch him really play well. So I do believe this Chicago Bear team, they got a chance to win 9 games this year.
And Herm, which team do you think could surprise people this season?
Well, here again, let's go with Chicago. I don't think they win the division. I think the division is very difficult. You talk about the Minnesota Vikings, obviously the Green Bay Packers are sitting over there. But I do think, and the Detroit Lions, and I think Chicago is better. They're just in a tough division. If they can win 9 games, that's going headed in the right direction.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Herm. Your little trophy case behind you, I think if I keep this streak alive, I'm gonna need the plans for that and build one of my own.
I feel good about this season. I may get some points here.
You got some competition there.
Well, okay, you can gloat right now. You won. You can gloat. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. We love having you on, Herm. Looking forward to the season.
Herm, thank you so much, and for throwing my beloved Commanders some love as well. The fast food chain that's serving up a taste of nostalgia, bringing back some old favorites. We've been going over all of ours
the
here.
Mexican pizza.
Oh,
yes.
Will Gann says, you say that customers are now thinking outside the bun, and that's just the start of it.
That's exactly right. All right, picture it. The year is 1999. It's a Friday night. You've just watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch, followed by an episode of Boy Meets World. And If You Had My Love by J-Lo is at #1 on the Billboard charts. Now, while I can't make all of that come back, one restaurant chain is hoping to bring the flavor of a night like that back to your local drive-thru. Now serving all millennial and Gen Z customers.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Taco Bell leaning into that Good Burger era late 90s nostalgia, announcing its decades Y2K menu featuring items from the early aughts and beyond.
Rewind really is the new fast forward. This is an economic gold mine. The entire business has so much virality in it. You're able to tap into millennials and Gen Zs in one foul swoop.
It's the police. Open up.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. The restaurant chain saying in a statement, no one did the 2000s like Taco Bell. That era gave us some of our most iconic menu items. Fans have never stopped asking for these items, and honestly, we've missed them too. And Taco Bell isn't the only brand resurrecting Y2K favorites. Supreme's Fall/Winter 2025 collection features these brimmed beanies, a la Eminem at the 1999 MTV EMAs.
And you are standing here.
I'm standing here.
You've got a good bottle of water here with you this evening.
And True Religion's Labor Day sale features these tracksuit sets, just like Regina George's mom.
Hey, how are my best girlfriends?
Experts say consumers are looking to take a break from the stresses of 2025, subconsciously or otherwise.
It's a time of instability. The markets are in upheaval. We're seeing AI shifts. And so people really want to go to what is comfortable and what is familiar. The nostalgia business is projected to be a $350 billion with a B dollar business this year.
It's a marketing strategy that's proven lucrative for movies, too, with sequels.
It's time to live.
And frequels. Of Y2K favorites proving bankable at the box office. And on tour this summer, lots of TRL-era faves. Nelly, Oasis, Backstreet Boys at the Sphere. Meanwhile, The Times says these Y2K trends are back too. Photo dumps, wired headphones, and mustaches.
Mustache.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Who's going there first?
The trend I want is no social media.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
I know, that'd be nice.
Yeah. All right, coming up here on Good Morning America, our group chat, the stories and images that got us talking this week. Stick around.
All right, we are back now with our group chat, and these are the stories that piqued our interest throughout the course of the week. And my pick this morning that got a lot of people talking, fashion meets technology, specifically when it comes to AI sparking a major debate here. Yep. The popular clothing brand J.Crew and Vogue are both facing backlash for using AI-generated images or models in their latest ads and catalogs. Now, J.Crew responded, calling the images digital art, saying we're always exploring new forms of creative expression. Vogue's agency behind the Guess ad says that AI models are meant to complement human talent, not replace it, but obviously this is gaining a lot of discussion, questions about whether this could take away from jobs. And then for me, the reason why I was interested is just as a father of 2 daughters, I think about it in terms of like, you know, these AI images creating a standard, a beauty standard, body standard that is really unrealistic. And so people raising the questions about how far is too far and who polices this stuff
And it's also hard to tell when you look at them.
Exactly.
Like, how do you know? And then how do, especially, you know, impressionable young girls girls and young men know what's what. Yeah. All right, well, I'll go next. Some alarming video here, panicking onlookers at Hersheypark, spotting a young boy walking along the monorail. Now, they try to guide him towards safety, mindful that he could take a tumble at any time. Now, Hersheypark officials saying the child had been reported missing after getting separated from his parents, and that the monorail, thankfully, was not operating at the time. Now, eventually, one man jumps onto the track from the roof of a building, pulls him to safety. The boy was, reunited with his parents and unharmed. Hershey says it remains committed to maintaining the highest safety standards for all of its guests. But, we're so glad the boy is okay, but you think of it as a parent, and I think everyone knows that moment when you get separated in a crowd, or that fear that you get separated in a park, terrifying. And where's my child? And you look up and they're out on the monorail, the poor kid. But thankfully, he is okay.
Okay, well, we are glad he is okay. I'll go next here. The unofficial end of summer, right? Womp womp, right? But when is it too early to start decorating for fall? So Tommy, he's kind of soft launch. That's what he's calling it, soft launching fall. He put out some of the candles or whatever. But I went to the expert, the holiday junkie herself, our buddy Jennifer Love Hewitt. And we've been teasing her because she's like full on fall. So I picked up her book. It's on page 106. This is very official. This is what she's saying. I follow the yearly holiday calendar of Starbucks. As the clock strikes midnight on August 31st, Starbucks and I believe pumpkin spice season begins. For me, the signal, that's the signal that it's officially the fall.
So today is the day.
Just follow the pumpkins. And of course, like everything, like she just goes all out with the kids, and it's just...
It's hard to say goodbye to summer, but that is something to look forward to.
I say, why not? Be festive, right?
Well, we just saw that the battle of the skeletons between the different, like Home Depot.
We're going to get one
Lowe's,
for Tommy for his soft launch.
Right?
You need the 20-foot inflatable skeleton.
The 20-foot in a New York apartment.
In August.
Just looking out the window.
There you go.
It'll be a nice subtle nod to fall. It'll be great.
And thank you so much for starting your day with us. And Mary Bruce, it was great to have you in this weekend.
Thanks for letting me be here with you guys.
Well.
Always good to spend the weekend with you.
You're awesome. You had fun?
Always. Okay, you guys make this so much
fun. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and of course you can always catch more weekend news coverage over on ABC News Live.
And have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on GMA. Have a great Sunday.